This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 28 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, presented by Equestrian Life, exclusive coverage of the world of dressage. We would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life. They can be found at equestrianlife.com, and Kentucky Performance Products. They are online at kppusa.com. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Lisa Wilcox, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show presented by Equestrian Life.
Well, hi, Lisa. Before we get into our show this week, we're just going to take a short break here. We have a special announcement from Glenn, who was in conversation with Kim Brown, who's the editor of thehorse.com and the publishers over there in Kentucky, and they have joined the Horse Radio Network family. So let's just take a short break to listen to that announcement, and we'll be right back.
This is Glenn the Geek here from the Horse Radio Network, and I am on here with Kim Brown, who is the publisher of thehorse.com. Hi, Kim.
How are you doing today, Glenn?
Good, and we are here to jointly make an announcement that we're both very excited about.
That's right, Glenn.
Well, you have we have been talking for the last couple of months, actually, and we're very excited to announce that thehorse.com, as of this week, is beginning to carry all of the Horse Radio Network shows right on your website.
That's right, and we're really excited to bring these entertaining, educational audio podcasts to the horse.com users. It's not something we've had before available, and these are such quality products we felt like we had to go on and get them started for our users.
Well, that's great, and you have them all on the homepage there, which is pretty cool, and you're carrying all 5 shows, and we're just very excited to be part of the Horse. The Horse has been around for a long time, right? You're part of the whole Blood Horse family.
That's right. The Horse has been around for about 16 years. It started as a small publication newsletter, and then we purchased it back in 1994 and have turned it into the place to go for horse people to get education.
And, you know, you've been known for, the Horse has always been known for, my wife checks it every morning, but has always been known for horse health topics. Why is it, we don't do a lot on horse health, obviously, with the shows that we have currently. Why is it that you wanted to pick up the shows and so that people could actually listen to them on your website?
Well, Glenn, we have focused on horse health, and we're going to stay on the focus of horse health. But all of our users have said, look, we love coming to thehorse.com. We love looking up all this great information. It's like our library that we can go to, but we trust you all. We want to stay here and do other things. So we had started launching blogs and some other things where people could interact with us more, and the podcast just seemed a natural extension, you know, with the news tips that you have and the stable scoop, especially with the World Equestrian Games coming up that we have followed quite a bit from thehorse.com. So our users have pretty much said, hey, we want some more things that we can interact with you about. And that's one of the things we're doing with the podcasts is that the users can get on and they actually are set up so that not only can they download them like they can from your site, but they can also comment on them right there on the blog.
Well, that is one of the neat things is they can comment and actually develop discussions around them right here. And I think that's one of the exciting things. And I have to compliment you and your geeks. You did a great job setting up the pages. They're very nicely done.
Well, thank you very much. We have some great people here. Kim and Chad worked very hard to get these pages, the templates set up and make them very friendly and usable. If you've never been on a podcast before, I think it's going to be really easy to click and listen or download it right to your iPod or your phone and take it with you so that if you're out in the stable cleaning stalls or hauling buckets of water or even driving to and from the stable, you'll have some great entertaining and educational podcasts to listen to.
Well, that's great, and we do appreciate it. We thank you very much for putting the shows up there. It's very exciting to we have a large listener base to begin with, but it's very exciting. We know that this is just going to enhance it. There's a lot of people that have not heard about our shows, and through your website, And that's one of the cool things about thehorse.com that's different than other websites is you're not discipline specific, you're not English or Western specific. You really hit everybody, don't you?
That's right. I mean, we keep a pretty close tab on who's on our site, and we have over 200,000 unique users every month coming to the site,
Wow.
and it's growing between 3,000 and 7,000 people who register every month to come in and read the articles and get our newsletters and watch our videos. We have long-form videos and short-form videos. We have PDF download fact sheets on all types of topics, and we've got men and women in pretty much any discipline, any horse breed that you can think of, because we all are about the horse. I mean, that's what's passionate to all of us who are on here. And that's one of the great things we like about the podcast is that you bring a lot of people who, love the horses. You take them that one step deeper. If I'm into dressage or if I'm into eventing or if I'm interested in the world equestrian games, that just gets us one step deeper into that relationship. And we think that's wonderful here at thehorse.com.
We've actually, in recent months, because now we've been around long enough, we've been doing this for over a year, we have over 200 and I think it's 80 now episodes of the different shows out there. And people are starting now. We have the shakers and the movers and shakers in the industry are now starting to contact us because there's one thing radio can do that I'm not picking on print here. It's a difference, is that they can actually come on a show and express the point they want to express, and people get to hear it in their voice. It's one thing reading a quote, that's quoted, but sometimes, the players, if they want to get their point out, they really want people to hear it in their voice with their inflection, with their passion,
And that's absolutely correct. And again, video, audio, all those new media modes that as horse people we're sometimes a little slow to adopt, but we think the podcasts will follow right along with the video population explosion that we've had. People just really love to be able to see and hear and touch and feel like they're part of that relationship.
Well, that's great. Well, we do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to working with you here going forward. Well, I know we're going to be working a little bit together on the World Equestrian Games. Of course, we do the 2010 radio show, and you guys are developing quite a section on your website for the games, and we're both here in Lexington. So we're hoping to work with you closer on that as well. And before we go here, Kim, I also wanted to mention that everything pretty much on your site is free. You have to register, but that's free as well, right?
That's right. It's a quick registration process. We want to make sure that we have real live people that are coming to the site so that we can develop a relationship with them. But once they register, they can go on, they can sign up for newsletters, they can get onto the videos, they can get onto the podcast, they can listen to anything with just that one registration.
Okay, great.
We invite everyone to come over to thehorse.com and hear the radio shows and see what else we have to offer and, make a comment on the shows and tell us what you think and what we can do more on this. But we're really looking forward to this.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kim.
Thank you, Glenn.
Well, Lisa, hi, and how are you doing? How's it down in sunny Florida? Is it getting warm enough for you down there?
It's getting warmer again. We had a little bit of a cold snap, and don't you know, we were rushing for those big, thick blankets. We were down in the 40s, low 50s, high 40s. And, of course, everybody's shivering and has goosebumps, and I had my turtleneck and my sweater on in Florida. But, we thin-blooded individuals. But we have survived. We're back up in the 70s in the evening and crawl back up into the 80s during the day, so nice and balmy.
Oh,
again.
good. Not too painful then. Not too painful. Well, if you could keep the temperature up a little bit, I'm going to be down there next week. So actually, I'll catch up with you. I'll see you next week down there.
Oh, fab!
For the Succeed USET Gala fundraising event.
Excellent. Look forward to that. Look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, you too. Well, before we get to that, Lisa, we've got a really good show. There are lots of content this week on the show, and we're going to be hearing from a couple who are the National Pas de Deux champions. That's Ruth Soren and Susan Saylor, and I caught up with them earlier this week and had a great conversation with them. They shared with us the secret of their success, so looking forward to sharing that with you shortly. And you and I are going to carry on our conversation from a couple of weeks ago And we're going to talk about the independent seat and the importance of developing an independent seat. So looking forward to that conversation too. But before we get to that, Lacey, you know, there's quite a bit of news this week, all out of Europe, I might add, not surprisingly. And the top story has to be that the FEI announced this week that the Bureau has passed a resolution which is going to delay the implementation of its new progressive list, which is part of the equine prohibited substance list and the accompanying equine anti-doping and controlled medications regulations that was introduced at the FEI General Assembly in Copenhagen, Denmark, just a couple of weeks ago. And they had received so much feedback and differences of opinion. There was quite an international debate going on, largely over the internet, and letters were flying around the world. And so the FEI have just taken a deep breath and reviewed the effects of that and the reaction that they've had to that announcement that they made, and they're deferring the implementation till April the 5th of next year. And that was in order to allow for much broader debate and consultation on this policy change, which clearly has stirred up quite a considerable debate. You know, even websites have been created to generate, a lot of a referendum, basically, for people who have been voting against this change, and that is to introduce a small number of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs into that program. It's called the progressive list. I think there's about 5, isn't there, Lisa? And,
yes.
We have different... I mean, you having been based in Europe for some time, you'll know that there's a very different culture there to what there is here, and we have different rules over here. So it's probably of no surprise to you at all that this has caused the stir that it has.
They're having a hard time after coming out of a zero tolerance basis to tolerating anything at all. But I think that it's a double-edged sword. It really is. There's the side of me that says, yes, is this healthy for the horses? 1 gram of bute, anti-inflammatory. Lord knows we as athletes need our aspirin, take our Advil. When we have a lot of lactic acid buildup from working hard or going to the gym and doing things and lifting weights, and of course your muscles get sore. And this is something that we can help take out the inflammation, and the horses are therefore, I think, as athletes, put in a position not to mask anything, but to help them be better athletes. Has nothing to, I think with 1 gram of bute, we are not going to be masking major lamenesses. And I think the biggest debate is going to be, now how are we going to, the testing for this has to be very well designed, because that 1 gram of bute could turn into 2 grams of bute. And then now you have another, then things start to redefine themselves. And that's where we start to get into a little trouble. And of course, this is again the argument, have we then done our sport a justice, or are we now looking not very legitimate as a sport? And that's, I think, what the biggest worry is. So yes, I am for the comfort of the horses. No, I don't want to mask lamenesses. But again, we're working with professionals, we're working very closely with our veterinarians, and no one wants to cross that boundary. Now, it's that boundary. It's that gray area, and those labs are going to have to be very well defined in order to get through this mess. I personally would have thought that they would delay that regulation until after the World Equestrian Games, because I know a lot of nations are very stubborn about it, and it would give them a year to practice or to consider how they would regulate that through laboratory controls. So
yes,
yeah, difficult. Yes, it is.
It is a difficult one, and I think we should point out to our listeners, that it's largely because of the differences between Europe and the U.S. in terms of national regulations.
Yes. Well, we are allowed this nationally, and they are absolutely not.
Quite. So I think that's the, if you will, the pivotal point of discussion, that there are differing national regulations, and of course the FEI is an international organization, and it's a very difficult position for everybody to be in, and there are so many differences of opinion. And I've talked to many people. I've talked to vets, to journalists, to riders, to trainers, to owners in the past couple of weeks since this came about, and everyone has an opinion, and they fall on either side of the fence, and very much like you, Lisa. That at the end of the day, we need to maintain the integrity of the sport and not undermine it. And especially in the light of the wonderful work that the FEI has done with the Clean Sport campaign, and those recommendations, apart from this progressive list, those recommendations were approved that came out of those investigations that took place since the Hong Kong Olympics. So, so much good work has been done that it's a great shame that this issue, this progressive list that's been introduced, has overshadowed all the good work. So it's something we'll be keeping a very close eye on and bringing you updates each week here on the show. Well, more news out of Europe this week. And Tineke Bartels, had a fall, Lisa, and fractured her vertebrae. I don't know if you heard about that. She fell off a youngster.
I sure did. And I then, the part where she fell off a youngster, there was a part about a telephone and a gate. And that's when I want to twist her little neck, because none of my riders are ever allowed to have a phone on them. But I know something spooked her.
Yes, I think
believe.
She was pushing the button of an automatic gate, and the horse spooked and jumped around. And
maybe that was it, pushing the buttons on the gate. I'm thinking a telephone. Okay, sorry, Tineke. But you should have a clicker in your hand. But,
there you go.
I always worry about these young horses and that type of situation. Scary. I'm just glad she's going to be fine, though. She'll be fine.
I think so. Yes, she's had lots of X-rays, lots of tests, and she's going to be on her feet for a while. But she'll be okay. She's walking wounded. So we wish her a speedy recovery, Tineke.
I'll send her a clicker to her gate.
Yes, there you go.
It'll push a button in your pocket. Okay.
That's right. All right. Well, we also had some news from Stockholm from a World Cup qualifier last weekend. Adelaide Cornelissen won that qualifier with Parsifal with a score of 83.85%. A good win there for Adelaide. She took advantage of some of the other Dutch riders staying at home, Lisa.
Yeah, and fabulous. Good for her. I cannot wait to see this pair live. I am such a fan of the two, and I hear such great things about their just basically classical style and the harmony between the two. And I know she talked about her Grand Prix being a little difficult, and it was a little spooky with all the flashing of the cameras and everything, but it seems like he settled right in. That's a chunky monkey, 83.85. Love those numbers.
Yes, absolutely. Got to get up there in the mid-80s for people to really pay attention now to the leaderboard. And we should
I personally also... Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You mentioned?
No, go ahead, Lisa.
I get a kick out of Parsifal because I have Passionel, who is also a jazz, same age. And when I see that success, I imagine myself there one day.
There you go. Inspiration.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we should mention that Germany's Matthias Alexander Rath finished second on Triviet 2 with a score of 73.45, and he was followed by Sweden's Minatelde on Don Charlie, who completed on 73.60. And in the Grand Prix, Adelaide won that, but with a score of 75.53, so she was clearly warming up in the Grand Prix there, Lisa.
Yes, and that's what I could tell from the judges. They said they weren't quite themselves, and she had mentioned that Parsifal was obviously having a little bit of a difficulty there in that indoor, which they do It's some horses. I know that Relevant always had problems indoor. He just would. Indoors were very big for him, and he'd become very small and introverted. And I would have to get him to come out of his little shell inside these things. And Stuttgart was an exceptional challenge for us. But he did. He came around, and always my first test was a little, I think, like she had with Parsival. And but with a 75.5, who's complaining, huh? I look at that score still, and I keep thinking, that's still good. That's still good.
Well, I cannot imagine Relevant ever being small. All I see is this huge front when I think of him. And
well, you think of all this neck, but still, it would feel, and thank God you never saw it. But inside, I am up there going, smile and wave, come on, quit holding your breath. And I think the most difficult arena, now this has been being outdoors again, was Hickstead for us. Because it just felt like the spectators sat on our laps. And I don't know if you remember that just getting around the arena, one rider would have to go out and go one way and the other rider go the other. There was no way of passing each other.
You know, but isn't that typical of that small island over there? They just don't have room. The roads are narrow. The dressage arenas are
hello.
crowded.
It was all one ways. And I'll never forget. I went in right after Ola. I was like, okay, so who's going to give here? No, Ola came in after me. So of course I backed up. I went the wrong way, of course. But anyway, I'll just never forget thinking, oh, come on, really. Little bigger here, come out, and it was just trying to get a turtle to take, his head out of a shell.
Yes.
But we managed. Wasn't bad. It was another one of those things where I think with her horse as well, with a 75.5, I'm not necessarily thinking it's obvious, but these judges know her and they've seen her on her best day, and so they can probably see the tension. But I think that she probably packages it quite well and knows him very well, so she can kind of maneuver her way through all that.
Quite, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We should also give a shout out for Susan Dutter, one of your neighbours down there. She was over in Sweden too. She finished a little bit further down the order with a Manette DC on a 63.06, but always good experience to be exposed to those European judges, Lisa.
Lord knows, know those scores. Was out there with Naomi way back when, a few years ago when I was trying to qualify for Hong Kong. And those are the numbers you bat around for a while, especially as a newbie over there, and a combination. But that's a lovely little gray mare that she has, so it's just a matter of time.
Yes. Well, good for her. Well, one of the biggest, most popular competitions now that's really hit the global scene is the Equus World Dressage Masters. That's becoming quite the purse to chase. It's the richest lineup of competitions, each with a prize of almost $150,000 in prize money. And they've just announced their schedule for next year, Lisa, and that's going to be Palm Beach, Florida, February 4th to the 6th, and in Munich, Germany from May 13th through 16th, and then to Hickstead, one of your favorite venues there, July 29th to August 1st. So a huge prize money being offered there for those WDM Rider Ranking Awards of an additional $37,000 that will be offered in Munich. It really is quite the showcase of the sport now, isn't it, outside the other major competitions?
This is fabulous that we are finally getting these types of show circuits going in dressage. I think that also this is something that also draws spectators. When they see this kind of money, wow, what's behind all that? And to be honest, that February Masters here in Wellington, that is the show to be at. We've got Edward Gall coming with Totalis. We've invited some of those top European riders, and Wellington is becoming an intense international center for these this circuit. And thank God, we need that exposure, and we need those top riders to show America what this is really all about. And I'll be on the sidelines, boy, when that total list goes around. I want to see this live. I'm excited. I'm like, okay, I'm riding too, but make me far away from Totalist so I can see that. So I'm either way beginning or wherever. But I get excited to see these guys come over and to be part of it, riding against them. It just makes the competition, everybody rises to the occasion. It's exciting.
Yes, I think that's so true, and you know, it's great for that they are coming over here because, you know, so often in the past we've had to go over to Europe to get that kind of exposure to, you know, compete against these other riders, as you know so well yourself. So it's a great thing that they're feeling it's worthwhile getting on a plane and coming to Florida, and you know, who can blame them going to Florida in February anyway?
Exactly. We just call it something like the Sunshine Tour, just in America.
That's right.
And, you know, for that kind of money, my eyes are doing the dollar sign thing. But, you know, and if you can travel and make it to that, that's fabulous. And you have those types of horses, that's awesome. I think that's very, very motivating for the dressage scene. And I think that that's going to put us on a map.
Absolutely.
America.
Absolutely. Well, you know, credit to, and you know, we have to give a shout out to the sponsors there. Although this series was founded by Exquis, it's sponsored by Moreland Stables and Moreland Investments together with Nürnberger Versicherungsgruppe in Germany. So it takes a, you know, that kind of partnership and that kind of initiative to bring us into, you know, those big dollars, because as you say, the sport needs that kind of exposure. It attracts the media and it attracts the public, and it's only a good thing. So you know, credit to them, and we'll look forward to that. I may just have to come back down in February to the opportunity of seeing Totilas before the World Equestrian Games, just to see how he's shaping up. And I think, isn't Stefan planning to ride Ravel there too?
Yes, so exactly. Yes, I think we'll get a couple other Dutch riders, and if not, a couple German riders as well. We shall see. I had heard perhaps Ola Salzgeber. We shall see.
Oh,
that would be exciting.
Good. Well, I may just be booking my flight fairly soon for that.
I would do that. Don't miss it.
All right, Lisa. Well, that's about all the news for this week. We're going to take a short break here before we come to our guest of the week, so stay tuned.
It is fantastic to have our friends at Equestrian Life as the title sponsors for the Dressage Radio Show. If you have not been to Equestrian Life yet, you need to go. In addition to being the official social community for the Horse Radio Network, it is one of the fastest growing horse communities on the internet. It is truly the Facebook for horse people. The goal of EquestrianLife.com is to bring equestrians together and to provide them with the breadth and depth of information and tools they need to learn and connect with other horse lovers who share the same passion. EquestrianLife.com is a fun, inviting website that strives to provide its members with a world-class experience that fosters the expression of all the ways people enjoy their horses and the people who are part of the horse world. EquestrianLife.com's social media platform provides users with cutting-edge applications and tools, such as people and horse profiles, social Q&A, status updates, messaging, photo uploading, groups, comments, blogs, expert high-definition videos, directories, birthday reminders, alerts, messaging, and on and on and on, in addition to their partnership with the Horse Radio Network. This community is designed by horse people for horse people and is filled with educational and entertaining video and audio all about our horses. Ride on over to Equestrian Life today, sign up for free, and tell all of your friends. If you love horses, EquestrianLife.com is the place to be.
Well, thanks again to our sponsors, Equestrian Life. Don't forget to visit them at EquestrianLife.com. Well, Lisa, our guests this week are a really fun pair of women from Texas. They are the national Pas de Deux champions, and that's Ruth Sorin and Susan Saylor, and they're going to tell us how they formed the partnership and the secrets of their success in becoming the national champion. So look forward to sharing the conversation I had with them just earlier this week. Well, I'm joined now by Ruth Sorin and her pas de deux partner, Susan Saylor from Texas. Welcome to the show to both of you.
Thank you.
And Susan, I believe you both live pretty close together there in Texas. Tell us a little bit about where you are in that part of the world.
Well, we're sort of west of Houston, Texas, sort of in between Houston and Austin, Texas.
Okay, and you both live fairly close together, right?
Yeah, about 7 miles apart, as a matter of fact.
So how did you all meet then and get involved in pas de deux dressage? Because you obviously have a wonderful partnership there, relationship, and as I said in my introduction, you are the national champions. But tell us a little bit about how it all started, Ruth.
Well, I met Sue about 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. She moved into the area from California, and I'd moved here from New Jersey just a year or so before. And we run events at our facility, and Sue came and judged some of our schooling horse trials as a dressage judge, and we just got to know each other that way. We both had a lot of interest in dressage. We'd see each other at some of the USDF shows, and we went to a musical freestyle clinic together at the same time, and got together one day and said, we ought to ride together, and kind of coach each other and maybe do some musical freestyles together. And so we started riding on Mondays together, and just had a really good time, and cooked up this idea to do a pas de deux, and haven't looked back.
Well, Susan, you've got quite a strong background, where you've been training with Charles DeComfey, obviously a very well-known trainer there. You've been training with him for quite some time now, so you obviously have a very strong background in the sport.
Well, dressage is my favorite thing. I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I started out riding Western, but when I was teaching at Cal Poly Pomona, I met Charles DeComfey, and he just blew me away because I realized that I had a whole lot to learn.
Well, tell us about the horses that you partnered now with, and are these two horses that you're each riding right now, Bramble Bush and Amari, are they the two that you've always had in partnership together?
Yes, it's Cashmere is Sue's horse, and Bramble Bush is mine. And we actually started riding together with Bramble and Amari, but then she was injured. So Sue was bringing Cashmere along, and we started riding Bramble and Cashmere together, and that just seemed to be a perfect fit. They just really worked very well together, and Cashmere was coming along. Bramble was sort of an old campaigner, and he sort of gave her a little confidence, and now she outshines him, and we have to work hard to keep up.
So what would you say was the right ingredients for these two horses to be such a good fit in performing a pas de deux, Susan?
I think that the kind-heartedness of both horses just match. They're both lovers, and my Amari, as fantastic as she was not into the partnership. She was a competitor. And Cashmere and Bramble are just lovers. They go side by side, and she watches him, and she was like a first-level horse, and we just put her in there, and she said, I'm going to keep up with him because I love him. And so she just took right off. She said, I'm going to keep up with him. And now they go back and forth competitive-wise. We do a lot of things. Our ride is a third-level ride, but we practice upper-level movements like passage and piaffe, where we'll put one horse in front of the other and we'll piaffe behind the horse in front. Then we'll move forward, using that competitiveness to strengthen them, to get the hindquarters more engaged, and they love it, and we love it.
So how big are they each? How big is Bramble, Ruth?
He is 16'2". And he's a Cleveland-based thoroughbred, so he's got a little drafty in him. So he's a big-bodied horse. But interestingly enough, he and Cashmere look so much alike. She's a Tristina,
so the same,
right?
Same color, are they?
Same color, and very much the same size and length, and they look like bookends. Yeah, they fit together. She's an ISR Olenberg. So she has a little thoroughbred, but Olenberg.
Right, right. Well, take us back to when you first decided that you were going to get into this pas de deux together, and how you started to formulate your program.
Well, we knew that the horses, when we were first started out, I had Amory and Ruth had Bramble, and they were solid third level horses. And I was kind of in the L program, and I had to finish that. So Ruth went on and got her bronze medal, and then I got my bronze medal on Amory, and then she had a lameness issue, and we brought Cashmere into the pot. And we just put them together, and Ruth had this fantastic flamingo music for the canter, and I was driving along one day listening to the Shrek music from the Shrek movie with Boots, and I said, that's our trot movie music, and we did that one year. We did the Shrek Boots music and this beautiful flamenco canter music, and we had a very successful year where we said, what would it feel like to get a 70%? We got 6 of them, and it was like, yes. and then this last year, Ruth and I, I'm in the L program, and so I get to go to these wonderful programs for continuing education for judges. And they had a musical freestyle one, and they said, well, what would you like to learn more about? And I obviously said the pas de deux. So I got all this information, and I said, Ruth, if we buy top hats and if we synchronize our fly changes, we'll get an 80%. And, of course, we went out there first show, and we scored an 84.5%. It was like, yay!
Well, tell me a little bit more about the training. When you guys actually, before you even, as you're working on this at home, before you even get to a competition, there has to be not only a lot of your own individual training, but working together, I would imagine, to synchronize everything to perfection before you get into the competition arena. So how much do you work together, and how much do you work individually with your horses?
We ride about 2 times a week together, and we work as a pair a good share of the time that we ride together. We take lessons sometimes as a pair, and we also will go to a ring that's the size of the competition arena and practice and run through our choreography.
So who designed the choreography for this? Because it's hard enough to do choreography for a single freestyle. How did you combine the two that would work so well for both of the horses in those movements simultaneously?
I think we do it as a team. We have a coach, and we have each other, and we watch other good rides, and we just sort of pick and choose. Like, for instance, right now we're working on this real interesting canter pirouette, where one of the horses is in the center doing an actual pirouette, and the other horse is actually doing more of a medium around the other horse, and then we go out of it, and the other horse drops to the outside, and then the outside horse becomes the inside horse. It's for the future. But we work on different interesting things that we see or that we've tried at the trot, and we bring them to the canter. We just play with different movements, and of course watching, for instance, the Spanish riding school in their movements, how they do things together in a quadrille. We bring some of those. One of our best movements is a shoulder in with me in front, Ruth behind me, that goes from a shoulder in left to a shoulder in right on the center line to the judge. The judges love that.
Well, yes, you mentioned Spanish riding school, and then there's the Andalusian school in Jerez in Spain, and watching them, they're so well synchronized, aren't they, these quadrilles?
Oh, beautiful.
I guess that's very inspiring to see if they can do it with a number of horses, how you can do that with just 2 of you.
The other really good motivator for me was the Reiner Klimke ride where they had the 12 riders that were all Olympic level riders who did the quadrille. I like watching that, and we can pick little things out of there and add it to our repertoire in our choreography as well.
And we've seen, wonderful pas de deux with Gunter. Gunter Seidel, of course, did a fabulous one at the World Cup in Vegas earlier this year. Did you do what they do, and do you get dressed up, or are you just in conventional dressage habit for and dress for these competitions, or is there an opportunity to dress up?
We've done both, actually. We have Houston Dressage Society puts on a championship show every year, and they have a fun night where you can do your performance in costume, and we have done that. We've had we've dressed up like Puss in Boots in Shrek when we had the Shrek music, and then we changed our music, and it's more of a country western theme, and so we were dressed up in cowboy hats and cowboy quote cowgirl dress for another time. But at the regular shows, we're in regular dress. We dress formally, but we enjoyed the dressing up for the as you please at ASS.
Well, you mentioned that you had a coach. When you coach, when you're working with your coach, is that purely for the pas de deux, or is that just conventional dressage lessons for preparing a freestyle program?
A little bit of both. We one woman that comes out to our place has done a lot of the choreography work with us, but she also will pull us aside and whip us into shape as far as our technical performance is concerned. She'll work with us separately on that, and then put us back together and work on some different moves for the pas de deux. So I have to say a little bit of both.
Well, as national champions, obviously you've set the standard for yourselves now with the scores that you've been reaching. So what's next for the pair of you? Where are you aiming to go next?
Oh, I have so many ideas. We would like to take Cashmere and Bramble, and I think a good goal would be 3 scores of 80% or higher. That was one goal. We also have 2 new horses, both Ruth and I, that I'm hoping that we can play with a little bit, and maybe in a year or 2 come out with them, another pair.
So are there lots of opportunities for pas de deux competitions then in Texas?
Well, we've been making them. we call up the show secretary and say, could you add the pas de deux to your schedule? Could we please come to our pas de deux? And usually they're really enthusiastic about it because it's a crowd pleaser. People enjoy watching that. And we'd love to see some others join us. There are very few that do it in this area, but we're hoping to get some interest sparked and get some of the Pony Club kids to do it and some of the adults to do it, because it's really a lot of fun, and I think it teaches the horses as well as us an awful lot. And as I said, I think it's a crowd pleaser. People enjoy watching a pas de deux.
Well, absolutely, and it popularizes the sport of dressage too.
That's right. That's right.
And having been national, tell us about the national championships that you attended and how you became national champions.
Well, we started the year. We had a very exciting year, I should say. We started the year and went to our first show and scored that 84.5%. 2 days later, my horse tore a little hole in her suspensory ligament going in a hole on the cross-country course. And so I didn't have a horse for part of the year. I had to rest her. Ruth was so generous, she loaned me Bramble. And I rode him at a clinic with Jane Savoy, and so we had to sort of make do with 2 other horses for a while. And then we came back and we said, our goal was to be national champions. So we looked at the show schedule knowing that we needed to be conservative with my horse. And so we just went to 2 more shows to complete our fulfillment for being national champions. And instead of showing as much as we did the year before, we just kind of channeled our energy toward that national title.
Tell us about the competition itself, Ruth.
About being in a pas de deux, about being in the competition?
In the national championship, when you became national champions.
Well, we did that by getting a series of very good scores. We were not actually in an actual championship class, although I wish they would do that at our show.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. We would love to see that happen. We'd like to see it grow to such a degree that they could do a national class. But no, to earn the national championship, we just accumulated some very good scores throughout the year. And,
I see. It was over a period of time. Uh-huh.
Yes. Uh-huh. And they compared that with everybody in the nation.
And so if anyone's listening who thinks this would be a lot of fun, they should like to have a go themselves, how would you recommend that they start to look for, obviously, someone who's compatible, not only as riders but with horses? What are the keys to a successful partnership?
Well, I think that that having an instructor who's good at semi-private or group lessons, which both Ruth and I, as professional riding instructors, are very good at. And this idea of only having private lessons in dressage cuts you off, in a way, from having the experience of being side by side with another rider or riding along the wall on the other side of the arena, mirroring another rider. And that is what they do at the Spanish Riding School. That is how the young stallions grow into such fantastic older stallions, by watching the older guys go around. Cashmere is twice the horse she was because she rode side by side next to the older schoolmaster Bramble. She learned twice as fast to be a third-level horse as if I just had her by herself and worked on it. And we don't know that here so much in America, because normally our trainers ride by themselves on the schoolmasters, and then we have one first-level rider come in for a private lesson. And I think in Europe it's a lot better because you have several different riders in the arena at one time taking lessons, and the younger horse looks at the older horse, and the younger rider looks at the more advanced rider, and you get a better lesson that way. So I think if you can find a trainer who not only works with younger riders but with more advanced riders, and who is willing to put you in the arena together with different levels, I think you get a better education that way. For me, right now I'm working on a pas de deux with one of my students. He's an amateur, and his horse is first level, and she's riding next to Cashmere. So he's advancing. He's doing half passes at the canter. He can't do a fly change yet, but he's working on some things that are reaching third level when really he's a first level rider, and he's going, wow, Sue, I can't believe I'm doing this. And it's great because he advances.
So, you really, a horse like Bramble, who's now 23, is a wonderful
right.
schoolmaster. How much more has he got left in him, Ruth, at that age?
Well, he continues to surprise me. I had a lesson on him the other day, and I was joking with the trainer, and I said, maybe by the time he's 30, we'll reach Grand Prix. Because he just keeps getting, he's like fine wine. He just keeps getting better and better, and, who knows? I don't push him super hard, because I do want him to last as long as he can last, but, he just continues to surprise me, and he's a good poster child for longevity, for horses lasting for a long time. I'm very proud that he's been as sound and as good as he's been through the years.
Well, he really is an inspiration. But meanwhile, as you said, you've got two young horses waiting in the wings to take over that mantle, and no doubt, have another run at becoming national champions.
We'd love to do that. We certainly would. And if nothing else, the horses the new ones are coming along, I think will be better for just practicing together and working together like our this pair has.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful arrangement that you have, and congratulations to you both, because you say it's not something that has the kind of widespread recognition, but it is always very entertaining to see pas de deux, and hopefully there'll be more competitions for you to participate in, and we really appreciate you sharing the secrets of your success with us today, Ruth and Susan.
We've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much. Well, that was great, Lisa. It just shows how, two women, anybody can get together and, find the two horses that are compatible. And, I think it helps if they look similar. And clearly those two horses that they have, they look similar. They're the same sort of size. And, they just go in step with one another. And we're going to be posting that video that they talked about. They have a video clip of their championship rides. And we're going to put that up on our website at dressageradio.com, so you can all enjoy watching Ruth and Suzanne, and hopefully we'll give some inspiration to people out there who, if you think that you could ever go at this, I think it'd be a fun way to do it, Lisa. Maybe people that are not so experienced, or pony clubbers that want to come out into the sport, and look for other ways to enjoy it. I think that's going to be a great way to do it.
Absolutely. And I think, you can make, this could be, as we get to two horses that look similar, you could break that down. It could become a science almost, just perfecting your movements in a pair. When you think of that synchronized swimming, as a matter of fact, the hours you put in, and what fun. You have music, you have a buddy, it's not boring. And you put your hours in after work, and then come out and to have the results that these guys have had. That's exceptional.
Yeah,
that's exceptional. I think you're absolutely right.
Fun.
I think that's a great way, an enjoyable way to enjoy
great
the
way
sport.
to enjoy dressage. Great. Well, we're going to take another short break here, Lisa, before we get to our topical discussion of the week. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this short break for our commercial.
Don't forget your horse this holiday season, and what is more important than your horse's health? Kentucky Performance Products offers you the quality assurance that you are looking for your horse. Each supplement is manufactured to exacting standards in certified facilities. Their ingredients are sourced from highly reputable suppliers, and their formulas are fixed to ensure consistency in each bucket. When you purchase a supplement from Kentucky Performance Products, you will see the results you expect and the quality you can count on. They guarantee it. Kentucky Performance Products has recently unveiled their newest product called Contribute. Unlike other omega-3 supplements, Contribute contains both plant and marine sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids support virtually every system in the horse's body, including the immune system, reproductive system, nervous system, bone development, and the cardiovascular system. Contribute offers horse owners, breeders, and trainers an affordable way to provide beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. It is recommended for young horses, horses in training, stallions, broodmares, and seniors. Learn more about Contribute and all the products at kppusa.com. That's Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, Lisa, we talked last week, last time you were on, we really got into the techniques, and you and I know we share a lot of common ground here when it comes to the basics of classical dressage. So we wanted just a little bit to build on that conversation we were having about the independent seat and the importance of developing an independent seat. Yeah. And someone was asking me the other day, well, what is an independent seat?
Yes,
well,
that's a good question, isn't it?
I think we should start there. Do you want to go ahead with that one?
Good idea. Yes, I will. I'd love to. An independent seat is, when I'm talking to riders, I say you carry your hands, the horse carries his head. We don't carry their heads. And in order to do that, you have to have balance, strength through your core, which is going to be one of the things I talk about in my training tip of the week, but strength to your core to balance yourself independent of the reins. You know, look, Mom, no hands. Remember those days you rode your bike down the street and your mom was mortified? You finally had balance not to use the handlebars. And if there's one thing I try to, is the reins are not handlebars. And unfortunately, they become handlebars when we lack an independent seat. Rather than sitting up using our back muscles, stomach muscles, not necessarily thigh. My thigh is very loose. I don't want to close the back down, so I'm not vice gripping. I have a nice, relaxed, loose thigh that lies around the barrel, and otherwise I'm sitting up. My seat bones are in contact with the saddle because I'm sitting up. Belly button leading, shoulders back, and in this posture, I have to be able to manipulate the rein without blocking the horse's movement forward.
Right.
And when I say a half halt in forward, it isn't pulling back to have a horse do a downward transition. No. The horse maintains the length of neck. You squeeze your fist. He feels that barrier on the end. He feels that he's been definitely given a specific parameter. He yields to it. The fist relaxes in the moment that it feels him yielding. He maintains his length of neck, maintains his frame, and we were able to do a downward transition. So,
and importantly, that you're not using the horse to keep your balance. Basically, you're not using your reins. You're not using the horse to keep your balance. Now, I don't know about you, Lisa, but way back when I was very young, we went through all kinds of exercises to develop an independent seat. And some were more fun than others, but they were all hard work, but they all achieved the end result of developing a strong core and an independent seat that no matter what the horse did, where he put his head, it didn't affect where you were. You always stayed over the center of balance.
Correct.
And I remember, I don't know if did you go through Pony Club? I knew you grew up in the Midwest,
yes.
didn't you?
Yes, I sure did.
So I did, we did the Pony Club thing, and then because I grew up in England, I went through equitation school, and one of the things we used to do, in the indoor arena, we used to have what we called the yard ponies. There were a bunch of ponies that anybody could jump on, and we'd do all kinds of exercises with them to develop, to teach us to be independent of them, and we'd be riding them with our arms folded. We'd canter around an arena with our arms folded. We'd walk, we'd trot, we'd canter with our arms folded. And we just learned to use our body. And we'd often ride them with a head collar and reins attached to the head collar, so you were never interfering with them.
Exactly, which the head collar meaning a halter, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. British translation.
Yeah, British, thank you.
I love it.
And the other thing we did, which was really neat, and at the time I thought it was crazy, but I can see the benefit of it, and it really did help you develop an independent seat. We would have a line of 6 cavalettes on one side of the arena. This was all indoors, so, if we got bucked off or we lost our balance, it didn't matter too much. And we would start with the head collar and the reins on the head collar and the saddle. There'd be a group of us, maybe 6 or 8 of us in the class, in that lesson, and we'd start by just trotting down the line of cavalettes and circling around and trotting down the line of cavalettes. And now the first time we went down that line, we had to pull one stirrup iron off at the leather at the top and then drop it. And when we cleared the cavalettes, we'd then as we took it off, as we were going over the cavalettes, we'd take it off.
Oh.
And we'd drop it off all in a pile at the end, and then we'd come around again, and we had to take the other one off while we were down in the middle of those 6 cavalettes.
Wow.
And drop that off. And then the next time we came round, we had to unhook the girth, undo the girth. And then the next time we came round, we had to slide in front and pull the saddle out from behind us and drop it in the pile at the end.
Wow.
And
so then if you were in the center of the saddle or center of the horse, etc., and had your balance, the saddle stayed square.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then we take the saddle off. And then the next time we came round with our arms folded as we went down that cavalettes, and we had to do that a few times.
At this point, bareback. With your hands folded.
With our arms folded. We would do this, and with ponies, they would get into a trot and then to a canter. And then, ponies being ponies, as soon as they got down up over the last cavalettes, they'd come back to a trot. So you'd have to kick them and come around again. But that was just an example of teaching us to be independent, that we never touched that pony's mouth. We never used him for balance, that we could do all these things.
That you could coordinate your body to do all these different things without losing your balance.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, that's an amazing. We were basically bareback with our quarter horse thoroughbreds. We rode very often bareback because my father was very adamant about not having us hang up in a stirrup somewhere, and we had lots of acreage, and he wouldn't be around to free us, and this, that, and the other, and he'd rather the horses ran home and we came trotting behind. But through these pony games and the bareback riding and barrel racing and running down and sticking a stick in a bucket and then looking around the barrel, and I've seen these are some of the fun games. They have the pony games in Germany, and the kids have no saddles, and they're reaching and leaning, and they're not touching the pony, basically. They're just doing they're participating in this game.
That's right, and that's what I did.
And not even realizing they're learning balance.
That's exactly right. Well, I have to say that before I did these at Equitation School, I'd already done a lot of pony club stuff and a lot of gymkhanas where we did that. Since I've been knee-high to a fetlock, we did gymkhana stuff, all those games where you were hanging off your pony and left and right and sometimes leaning down at a full tilt canter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You'd be going full tilt and you'd be leaning off them, but you never lost your seat. You never lost your balance. Oh, you did fall off sometimes.
You learn courage, etc., etc. These kids learn courage, but bringing this back to the world of the amateurs and the people who start a little later, this is going to be a little threatening and intimidating, but lunging. Going back to being lunged in the saddle and having good horses that, allow a rider to feel the movement, give a leg aid without holding on, sitting up there, being able to sit the trot, sit the canter, finding the strength to fit to sit the swing of the back. That's all part of it.
Yes, and I think you're right, and I think importantly, and a lot of our listeners are of that adult amateur group who have not had the benefit like you and I had of pony club and learning to do things on a pony, which is a lot easier to fall off and get back on again, and it is somewhat intimidating for them. I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you do, have lots of people that have never ever ridden bareback.
No, exactly.
And wouldn't know what that feels like. But I think our message to everyone has to be that if you have the opportunity to get into maybe a round pen or an enclosed space and get on the end of a lunge line and feel what that's like to ride bareback and learn to be independent of any artificial aids or even a bridle or a saddle, it's a wonderful way to develop and strengthen your core muscles and develop an independent seat. And that segues very nicely into your training tip of the week, doesn't it, Lisa?
It sure does. It sure does. Couldn't agree with you more, though, Chris. Absolutely. And my training tip would say this. My riders, go to a Pilates class twice,
Wonderful.
3 times a week. And they work on the core strength. You need to be elastic. They stretch. As a matter of fact, this Pilates instructor works directly out of Toonie Page's barn. So they're in the viewing area. Those riders either come from the saddle, go in there, and I say, we need this loosened up. We need this hip flexor loose. She needs to sit up. We need stronger, left side. She's very weak over her left. Da-da-da-da-da. And that Pilates instructor will take them and manipulate them for all the specific areas where they're weak, building the whole, of course, but starting in the weakest of all areas. And that goes so hand in hand. And I'm telling you, when my riders have been to the Pilates instructor and then come to me, it's night and day.
Yes, I've
all
heard
of
a
a
lot of
sudden
riders.
they have a long leg. The hip flexor is more elastic. They're able to open their thighs, bring the leg back, relax, sit up. And so my tip would be incorporate that in your training. It's no different than our horses getting chiropractic help, a massage, and then, of course, we, as riders or professional trainers, are physical therapists in my mind. We work the horses also through their less elastic areas by asking them to do more gymnastic in that particular direction, stretching, bending, flexing, this type of thing. So definitely seek a Pilates instructor or yoga, but I have to say the balance of the Pilates with the riding, I've watched my riders gain immense amounts through focused work on their bodies to help them become more bilateral, therefore more balanced.
That's very good advice. I know a lot of riders who do use Pilates, and I think anything that we can do to strengthen our own physique only helps not only our riding but helps our horse, so that we're not relying on them so much and using them in a way that actually hinders the way they go. So I think that's a great tip. Pilates would be a great choice.
You know what you want to be? You want to be the best dancing partner your horse ever had.
Yes.
That
absolutely.
means there'd be no stepping on toes.
That's right. Well, I have another little tip, but I don't think many people are going to take up my tip. Another thing that we used to do, not only riding those ponies around, but we also had to go down those cavalettes and close our eyes. And we had to ride into small poles and tiny fences with a pole as a guideline. And we'd have to close our eyes and fold our arms and feel it. And feel it. So any chance that you get, if you're in a safe environment, maybe in a round pen or something, you're on the lunge, take the opportunity, hold on to the mane and close your eyes and feel the horse underneath you. So whatever you do with that horse, and if you watch the vaulters, and I'm sure you have, Lisa, watch vaulters, they always know where their horse is.
Yes, they do.
They always know where their horse is. They're
like ballerinas, the vaulters.
They absolutely are. Look at the core strength that they have. So there's some tips from Lisa and I this week. Give you a lot to think about, and I hope you'll come back with your comments. And if any of you try these, let us know how you get on. We always love to hear from you. Well, Lisa, we had some nice comments this week from a couple of listeners who wrote to us. One, Elizabeth, actually. It was very sweet. She had a question about showing in hand, and she said, "Dear Chris, Debbie, and Lisa," and a shout out to Heather, of course, Heather Blitz, who was a co-host back in the beginning of this show. And she says, "Thank you very much for producing terrific shows," and how much she enjoys listening to the Dressage Radio Show. And she has a question about a young horse that she's bought. She wants to show him in hand, and she's trying to get some help and guidance. And Elizabeth, we are going to try and get Scott Hassler on the show. Scott is an expert in showing horses in hand in this country. I'm sure you will have heard of him, and I know he's a very, very busy man to track down, but I'm in pursuit, and I will
Knowing
do my
Chris,
best.
she'll get him.
Hopefully we will, and that will address some of the questions you have, Elizabeth, and hope we can help you there with showing in hand. And we also have a nice email from Betsy LaBelle down in Florida. She thoroughly enjoyed the show where we had Cassie Bartow on, and those of you who follow the Dressage Radio Show regularly know we had Cassie on just last week. And Betsy obviously knows the Bartow family, and thought that was a really nice episode there last week, and speaks very highly of Cassie. So, Cassie, if you're listening to the show, you have a big fan out there in Betsy, and I'm sure she's not the only fan that you have, but it's nice to hear back from our listeners when they've tuned in, and especially if they know these riders and know these people that we're relating to. So thank you again for writing. Don't forget.
Yeah.
It is nice, isn't it, Lisa? And and I've always said, every week we tell everybody to send in their questions and comments, and I know you're going to share those show notes with our listeners now, Lisa.
Absolutely. You can follow our show notes at www.dressageradio.com and send us your feedback. As you've heard, we love to read these kinds of emails. It's encouraging. It's fun to see everyone is so enthusiastic about the information you're receiving here. And then leave a voicemail at 270-803-0025, or emails any comments or questions for Chris or myself at chris@horseradionetwork.com. And then the Dressage Radio Show has a fan page on Facebook, and there's a link to the page on our website. And you can follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio, and Chris at Chris E. Stafford. And we would like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Life and Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com. Chris, back to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. Yep, don't forget to keep those comments and questions coming. And if there's any topics that you'd like Lisa and I to discuss, just send them over to us. We'll take on anything, won't we, Lisa?
We sure will. We sure will. And if we don't know, we're going to find specialists.
We'll find someone who does. That's absolutely right. We sure will. Well, thanks again, Lisa. And as I said earlier in the show, I'm going to be heading down to Florida just next week to the Succeed USCT fundraising gala event that's taking place at the Jim Brandon Arena in Wellington, Florida. Looking forward to that. I know that you're going to be there, so look forward to catching up with you too.
I will be looking forward to seeing you, Chris. And in the meantime, thanks for listening and enjoy your riding.